What is up, YouTube? Ethan from EAB Reptiles. I am at the September Repticon event. Let's go see some awesome animals. First guy I'm going to show you is this guy here. This is a blue-tongued skink. This is an Indonesian. These guys are Tiliqua and gigas from Indonesia. These guys get pretty the biggest of the biggest blue-tongued skink. These guys get huge. Have a look at how calm he is. I think the love about blue-tongued skinks is their diet and their personalities. Look at him, he's like just chilling right now. I can just put him right here. He's like, hey, what's going on right there? I love this. I tell you, if you guys looking for blue-tongued skink, this could be for you. This happens to be a python seabay, the largest snake in Africa. This happens to be an African rock python. You guys know my story. When I lived in South Africa, the snake that started my love was a pure African rock python. Well, not a python seabay, but a python natalensis, which is the southern species, which gets slightly smaller than the northern ones. These guys are known to be very aggressive snakes, but as you can see, I think with a few years of generational breeding, these guys are going to calm down quite a bit. Just have a look at the pattern here. These guys usually have very similar to Burmese pythons. They're very similar, but they have the V-shaped head. But these guys get much larger than a Burmese python. They usually, sometimes some of them will calm down eventually. Like the one I started my love was a very calm natalensis, but they don't deserve the rap they get. They're such cool snakes, I tell you. It's the first time I've ever seen one of these at this show. So cool to see it here. This happens to be a T-negative albino matrix blood. You can get a good view of his head here. Come on. He's in shed too, but this happens to be a blood python. These guys are known to be very, very aggressive snakes. I think these are good snakes. If you guys want to learn how to handle vipers, I think a blood python could be helpful. But they've calmed down quite a bit. Look how the guy's usually pretty nasty though. But a lot of times it would be, sometimes they can calm down quite a bit. Because of years of generational breeding. Now the T-negative albino gene is recessive. It's one of my favorite breeds. Now matrix is codon. When you breed a matrix to a matrix, you get what's called an ivory, which is almost all white. Like this guy's, you can tell this guy's always in the shed though, but that's when snakes are the most nasty, believe it or not. But I think this is a cool snake, nonetheless. This is this pastel, Enchi, scaleless ball python. This is the first time I've ever seen a scaleless ball python. Come here.
Yeah, you can pet it.
Right? Stay in your cage, please, buddy. These guys are, look at how beautiful the snake is. It's kind of weird to touch like human skin. Come on, stay in your cage. Stay in your, he's like, let me go explore. I want to see what's going on. What's going on? What is that? He's like looking at my camera right now. Look at him. Now, this is a pastel produced by Greg Graziani of the Hitch series, the Python Hunters. We've got Enchi that was produced in Sweden by Swedeball. And of course, the legendary Brian Barczyk produced the very first scaleless ball pythons. It feels like just yesterday I watched that video when he showed the scaleless for the first time. It was like, wow. I'll never forget his reaction to it. And these snakes gets way too much hate. You know, they're saying, oh, it's horrible. It doesn't do well. These guys, he's fine. He's almost ready to breed. Look at him. He's going out. Sorry, buddy. Look at him. He's like right there. He's inquisitive. He's beautiful. Feels like human skin almost. Now, the difference between a scaleless ball python and a scaleless corn snake has no belly scales whatsoever. As you can see there, no belly scales. This is one of the coolest snakes I've ever seen so far. And he's like, I tell you, let's go see what else we can see here at the expo. How you doing, buddy? Meet Terry. She's a Argentine red tegu. You guys know how much I love the tegus. She's up for adoption, if you believe it or not. I'll put the link for the description if you guys are interested in adopting her. He's got a nice lip there, but I tell you, he's in foster care, but looks like he's in good condition. He's a good animal. But guys, before you buy a tegu, make sure you have enough space. This is not for, and make sure you can't escape. And if you ever have to get rid of it for whatever reason, never release it, guys. Also, I'm gonna put a link for US Arc Florida. You guys have got to fight this ban in Florida, the tegu ban in Florida, because these guys are such amazing animals. I tell you, I love tegus. Look at him right now. He's like, I'm just chilling out here. Let me just relax. That was it. See you there. It's a good animal. Link for it if you guys are interested and you guys have the experience. I'll put the link in the description. Meet the veiled chameleon. Have a look at these. These are why it's called the veiled chameleon. As you can see, the head here kind of looks like a veil, but these guys are from like the Oman area, the Middle East. Now, chameleons, whenever I show up a chameleon, I always say, you know, they're not the best handling reptiles. They're really more of a display animal, and you guys have to have a screen cage. These guys love the wind and the breeze, but these are for advanced keepers. Again, not the best handling animals because That's just because they do stress out very easily. They don't live very long. But overall, I think this is a pretty cool animal right here to see at Repticon. Pretty cool. You guys remember I just showed that scaleless ball python? This is the scaleless corn snake. You guys know how much I love scaleless snakes. Let's have a look at him right now. As you can see, like I said, it's always like human skin. Now, these guys get way too much hate. Like I always, every time I show off a scaleless snake, to talk about how incredibly amazing they are. I mean, they get so much hate. Oh, it's horrible. It's unnatural or whatever. The truth is, they do fine in captivity. They do so well. I mean, they wouldn't do well in the wild, but look how beautiful he is. He's so inquisitive. He's like going over to his owners, like, hey, what's going on right here? He's like, like he's a little camera shy though, but I tell you, I love scaleless snakes. You guys, but if you guys ever see a scaleless snake shed, it's so cool. It almost looks like a sock, but this is pretty cool nonetheless. Meet Addie. She is a bearded dragon. She came in as a rescue. She was, as you can see her scar there, she was actually attacked by a dog. And then the owner sadly left her in a critter keeper overnight, dumped her in a pet store parking lot, which is really unfair, really uncertain. That's why I always want to talk about when you buy an animal, whether it's a bearded dragon, whether it's a tortoise, whether it's a dog, a cat, and if you ever get to the point where you ever have to get rid of it, don't dump it anywhere. I mean, she's lucky to be alive today, honestly. I tell you, this kind of stories make me sick. He's like, hey, look at the camera there. But you guys know what? If you guys ever get to an animal and you just can't take care of it for whatever reason, there are rescue facilities all over the place. Find one. Don't be lazy. That's the kind of stuff that's just destroying the hobby. I tell you, I love seeing this animal right here. I'm glad she's so lucky to be alive. She's so cute though. See what else we can see here. This is a Lusitano cockatoo. What's your name?
Keith. Georgia O'Keeffe.
Georgia O'Keeffe, cool name. You guys know Georgia O'Keeffe was a very famous painter in which I love art, I love photography.
I name all my birds after gay Renaissance artists.
Pretty cool. But the truth is, you know, every time I show off a bird, I always want to talk about the commitment it is. Yeah. It's a big commitment. A lot of times people want to buy them because they're so pretty and cute, but then, believe it or not, some birds can live up to 80 plus years, which is a big commitment. So. They eat a lot, and they're messy, they defecate a lot, true. They're noisy, yeah. Also, and you know, every time I talk about this is because sometimes they end up in rescues. What I'm trying to say is don't get a bird if you're not ready for that commitment. And remember, as Brian Cusco used to say whenever someone bought a reticulated python impulsively, this is not a toy, this is not this is not an autographed Peyton Manning helmet. You guys know I'm a big Peyton Manning fan. This is not a fancy Lamborghini, this is a life, and a life is priceless. So, before you buy a bird, make sure you've done your homework, you make sure you have the space, and make sure you check in with your landlady too as well.
And you're ready for a permanent home.
And you're ready for this, because this is for life. This happens to be a Chihuahua gecko, which is very similar to a lychee gecko, very similar to a crested gecko, and quite similar to a, what do you call this? Very similar to the other New Caledonia geckos. Or I think of a Gorgo gecko, there you go. Now, look at the pattern on this monkey, I tell you. If you ever walk through the forests of New Caledonia, you would walk by the same gecko like 100 times and you wouldn't even know it's there. These guys are so well blended now. You guys are very similar to, the care is very similar to crested geckos. These guys eat the same stuff, eat crickets and insects, a lot of insects mostly. Pangea like crested gecko diet too. It's like a nectar. You guys are so cool. Fruit paste as well. But you guys are pretty cool. Now, these guys are not for beginners. I'd say you start off with a crested gecko first.
That's a misconception. These guys are very easy to take care of.
They're very easy. Look how beautiful
basically,
he is.
they don't need any light. They're nocturnal.
Yep, just like a crested gecko.
Room temperature 70, 80 degrees,
and
you're good to go.
That's pretty cool. But I tell you, this is such a cool animal. I love seeing New Caledonia geckos. This happens to be one of my favorite boa morphs. This happens to be a leopard ball
so different.
It's so different. Have a look at that pattern. You guys know, when I lived in South Africa, I used to see a bunch of leopards, and I tell you that those spots remind me so much of a leopard.
This is a boa.
Yeah, and these guys, the patterns remind me so much of a leopard.
Because
I used to see them all the time in the Kruger National Park. But I tell you, boa constrictors are so cool. You know, I love seeing these kind of cool animals. Look away if you're in South Africa because I don't think you're going to be getting any of these, at least anytime soon, but you know, things could change. But cool snake nonetheless. Have a look at this beautiful snake. This happens to be a super asphalt pastel Enchi banana ball python. You guys know how much I love pastels. You guys, I think that's one of my favorite codoms traits. You guys know Greg Graziani from the Python Hunters produced the very first pastels. I don't know, the Enchi was, as I said before, the Enchi was produced in Sweden by Swedeball, and the banana, believe it or not, the banana they thought of originally was a caramel albino. But Will Slough took a chance on that animal, and he ended up proving out to be co-dominant. I tell you, banana is a really enhancing gene. You add something like fire or lesser to the snake is gonna pop even more. I love asphalt too. It's a pretty cool snake, and it's just, I tell you, the snake, it looks like somebody just took sherbet and just spray painted on it. This is such a beautiful, beautiful ball python. Hey guys, look at these. These are albino iguanas. Look at how, I'm amazed. It feels like just yesterday that these were so expensive, but they've come really relatively cheap. But one thing I always like to show when I talk about iguanas is that USARK Florida is fighting for our rights to keep iguanas. As you know, Florida has banned iguanas entirely, including, have a look how beautiful this monkey is. This is the albino crimson. You guys know that crimson is a co-dominant trait produced by Tom Crutchfield. If you guys are ever looking for an iguana, Tom Crutchfield, and you live in Florida, well, if you live in Florida you can't have these, but Tom Crutchfield is the guy to talk to if you want to tame these down. Just like kind of cool. Tom is also known for producing other animals. You guys know Tom is the godfather of the reptile hobby. Just look up. Now, albino iguanas are much calmer than the normals because they have bad eyesight, but I tell you, I love seeing albino iguanas. And this is the first time I've ever seen one. It is so cool. Have a look at this. This happens to be a caramel albino berm. You guys know how much I love caramel berms. You guys know how much one of the first snakes I ever owned was a Burmese python. Have a look at how beautiful the snake is.
Can we video you?
Sure.
Got you, bro. Turn this around for once.
Look, because the albino, T-positive albino is a co-dominant trait. Sorry, not a co-dominant, it's a recessive trait. When you breed it to a normal, all the babies are going to be normal. And you get different phases of caramels. You get the Gulf Coast, you get the Ray line, which is produced in Taiwan, and of course you got the, just those two traits. Now, I tell you, I love seeing caramel berms. This is the first time I've ever held one. Now, you guys are looking for a good berm, no, these are not for beginners. You need to have experience. Just have a look at how caramel the snake is. I tell you, this is the first time I've ever seen one, and I think it's so cool. See you right here at Repticon.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. It's so cool. Let's see what else we can see here. Have a look at this. This happens to be the scaleless head ball python. You guys know I just showed the scaleless ball python a few hours ago. Earlier today. But you guys know how much I love the scaleless ball python. The story of the ball python is Brian Baracek, the late great Brian Baracek, the man who actually inspired my channel. We miss you a lot, Brian. But I remember, it feels like just yesterday I saw that snake bites video. Now he imported the scaleless head ball pythons. Well, one scaleless head ball python. He didn't know what to think. He bred it, and half the babies came out scaleless head. Now he was thinking that if he bred them together, he would get the scaleless snakes. A lot of people doubted him, and sure enough, we've got scaleless snakes now becoming more popular. I tell you, well, scaleless snakes, like I always say, they always get way too much hate. I tell you, this is such a cool snake to see here. They do well in captivity. You know, this is when you add the lemon pastel, which is co-dominant. But truth is, it's a cool snake. And he's like ready to take a pop at my camera. Here's my new buddy. Her name is, what's her name?
Kesha.
Kesha, like the singer Kesha, TikToks, whatever.
Yes.
He's like,
Just no dollar sign.
no dollar sign. He's like, hey, this is a white throat monitor. So you guys are native to South Africa. You know how much I love monitor lizards. You guys know this is a bridge. When you've kept when you kept an Aki before, and then you want to get into like an Asian water monitor. This is the bridge between the Aki and the Asian water monitor. These guys are so cool. He's like just walking around, walking like a dog. He's like so smart. He's so inquisitive. Hey, it's like, yeah, leave me alone. I just want to walk. But he's cool nonetheless. These are morning geckos. Just have a look at how cute they are. They are so tiny. Oh my gosh. Now, believe it or not, this species is entirely female. These are one of the reptiles that can reproduce through parthenogenesis without a male, which I think is so cool. As you can see here, just look at how tiny they are. So these are not for beginners by any means. You want to have about the size of this. They do need UVB. You can find a small lamp. I'm sure they've got those. But these are pretty cool. Oh, just show this little monkey. Have a look at how adorable they are. This happens to be a 50% dwarf reticulated python, golden child. Possible platinum and possible sunfire, and it's 100% het for purple. You guys know how much I love the purple reticulated python. The story, the first albino reticulated python ever that Bob Clark bought had a broken back, and nobody thought that snake was going to reproduce. But sure enough, Bob Clark bred that male. It turned out to be, sure enough, that snake did reproduce. And now we've got some beautiful snakes here. Now this is not the albino, this carries the trait for purple. Now this is a dwarf. You guys are looking for a retic, but you don't have the space. You can get what's called a dwarf and a super dwarf, which is the dwarf, which only gets about 10 feet long, maybe 12 feet max. So you don't have to worry about things so big. But the truth is, reticulated pythons are not for everybody. You need to have experience. But I tell you, This is a pretty cool snake nonetheless, and pretty cool to see this snake right here at Repticon. This happens to be a lily white cresty. You guys know how much I love cresty geckos. I just showed that Chihuahua gecko a while ago, but just look at that beautiful. Hey, he's lost his tail. Believe it or not, Dave Kaufman.
You want to hold him for you? Do you want to hold him? If you want to hold him.
Hey, buddy. Have a look at him. He's just chilling on my hand there. He's like, let me just chill right here. But these guys are jumpers, so you got to be on your toes. I got to keep an eye on.
He's pretty chill.
But he's pretty. Thank God. Also, these guys are also known as eyelash geckos because, as you can see around his eye, they would have eyelashes. But look at how beautiful, how cute he is. He's missing his tail. Dave Kaufman. I remember when I was watching that video with Dave Kaufman. He said, "I will offer. I don't know how much he said, but if anyone finds a crested gecko in the wild with its tail, but he actually didn't end up finding it, so I don't think that's still available. But I still tell you, this is such a cool animal. These guys do eat nectar, insects. If you guys are looking for a gecko, this could be for you. Let's see what else we can see here at the expo. How do you feel, buddy? Alright, so here we've got a super orange dream fire leopard yellow belly. You guys know how much I love orange dream. Oz from Ozzy Boyd's here in Maryland produced the very first orange dream. It's like a really high orange animal. Now we've also got the fire, which is produced in the UK. I think a guy named Eric Davis or something. But the fire is linked to the black-eyed leucistic. You got three flavors of white snake. You got the ivory, which is yellow belly to yellow belly. The blue-eyed leucistic, which goes on for on. I'm not going to rant too much about that. And then we've got the fire and the flame, which is in the blue and the black-eyed leucistic complex. Now we got the leopard, because this is the pattern there. It's more leopard. And then of course we got the yellow belly, like I said, linked to the ivory gene. Now the leopard is produced by Peter Call in Maryland. Now the leopard is also linked to the piebald gene, which I think Peter produced bred some pieds, and out of the pied group came some leopards, and I think it's pretty cool. This is a cool snake. You add lesser to the snake's going to be even prettier. Pretty cool snake. Have a look at this. These are chameleon geckos. These are why they're called chameleon geckos. If you can look at their backs, their scales remind me so much of a chameleon. These guys are very closely related to the New Caledonia geckos that I just showed earlier. You guys are related to like the crested, the Chihuahua. A bunch of other stuff is pretty cool. These guys are not for beginners by any means. I want you to have experience before you jump into these guys, because these guys are a little bit smaller and a little bit more finicky, a little bit more jumpier than other geckos. But I tell you, these guys are pretty cool. I tell you, I love seeing New Caledonia geckos. Let's see what else we can see here at the Reptile Expo. Last animal I'm going to show you guys at Repticon here last fish I'm going to show you guys is this albino pleco. Now the plecos are wood eaters, fish from South America. These guys love to eat wood. They are very cool in the aquarium industry. If you guys have like a Planet aquarium, or you should have a pleco because they would help keep the wood population, eat the wood and eat the algae. Especially, but you don't want to have this with like an arowana. You don't want to have these with a stingray. They're too big, but these are so cool.
They'll get picked on a little bit in those tanks, but
this is such a cool animal though, nonetheless, here at a Reptile Expo. I love fish too. It was a good show. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing night. God bless.